Rankin Springs is west. 60 miles west of West Wyalong, 200 miles west of Cowra, 360 miles west of Sydney on the Midwest Highway, that corrugated ribbon of red dust that stretches through the centre of New South Wales. But before we tell you about Rankin Springs, I'd better introduce myself. My name's Dugdale, John Dugdale. I'm the local school teacher. They generally ask me to speak when there's something on or when somebody has to say something. You know, births, deaths and things, and now films. But Rankins is a fairly new subject to me. I've only been here about 6 months, so this time I've got some of the older residents here with me to help me out and tell you about themselves. You'll be hearing from them later on. Well, as I was saying, Rankin Springs is west, nearly 400 miles west, in the developmental area of New South Wales. Areas like this are the margin, or frontier, you might say, between settled and unsettled. Closer in is closer settlement. The pioneering's over. Farther west is the great outback, the never-never country of wide open spaces. As the in-between, that's the marginal areas, settle down, so development moves west. There's a lot of towns like Rankin Springs in the marginal areas, Wythally, Narradin, Goolgowi, some larger, some smaller. In Rankins, there are about 290 people in a radius of 10 miles. That's not many, is it? That's what I thought when I first got my transfer up this way. What sort of place is this Rankin Springs, I asked, but nobody seemed to know. But it's not a bad sort of place when you get to know it. Take today, for example, a normal Saturday, shopping in the morning and a dance at night. If you get up early enough, you'll see young Curthy riding down to the baker to get the bread. Jack used to be a jockey in Melbourne until he got too heavy. Now he works for Seth Flanagan, a couple of miles out on the Goolgowi Road. And being Saturday, like everyone else in the town, he'll be doing something to help the dance committee. Surprising what a handful of people stuck out here in the West can do when they really want to. No water supply, no gas, no electricity. To all appearances, just a pub, half a dozen shops and the same number of houses. But when the people get together and pool their resources, there's nothing they can't do. Now, Mrs. Campbell here, she's the baker's wife. They've got a little boy of 3 and a baby girl. But you'll always find Mrs. Campbell in the shop if Wally's out shooting rabbits or doing his mail run to Yenda. As well as baking the bread, they sell petrol and oil and talcum powder, films and tennis balls. In fact, if there's something you can't buy somewhere else, someone's sure to say, go and try Wally Campbell. He might have it. It's those touches that make you develop a soft spot for places like Rankin Springs. The little things that happen here that don't seem to happen anywhere else. Like Harold Terrell and his sheep. You won't see that in the cities. A flock of sheep in the middle of the main street. Harold's got about 9,000 acres just out of town near Mount Conapara. He'll be taking the sheep to the railhead, sending them off to the sale yards in Sydney. And there's Pat Curfey, Jack's sister, down at Vern Dupin's store. Vern Dupin's a bit like me, only been here a few months. But he tells me he likes the place just as much as I do.
Oh, it's all very well you men going about liking the place. You always get the best end of the stick. I'm the Mrs. Heffernan on the notice for the dance. Men 3 shillings, ladies 2 shillings, and bring the supper. It's easy to see that the dance committee has a majority of men. I often wonder if you men ever give a thought to women like Mrs. Lamont, up at dawn, collecting kindling for the fire, getting splinters and wetting their feet, risking a death of cold or pneumonia or something like. Well, it's all very well for you to talk, John Dugdale. You've only been here 6 months. Do you realize that housework for some of us today is little different to 30 years ago?
Yes, I do.
And yet you say Rankin Springs is an interesting place and you like it.
Well, you know, Mrs. Heffernan, when you live in a place for a long time, it has a tendency to become dull and uninteresting. But when you're a newcomer like me, You can see all those little things that have become so commonplace to the old residents. Things like women washing nappies and sheets in a laundry that only has the backyard fence for a wall and the sky for a roof. Or don't think for 1 minute that I think they should be like that. I don't. But those are the sort of things that stick in a stranger's mind. Things like Ken Rafferty, the postmaster, milking his cow. And the way the kids dash over to the railhead to see the engine turning around. You don't get that sort of thing in the cities. And the big road transports that have done 400 miles before they get even this far. They might have 600 more to go. And the wood chopping that has to be done. I always thought that wood chopping was a thing of the past. The smoke from the chimneys, smoke from the fires that make the tea and cook the bacon. They're all interesting to a newcomer. But then, not all women folk stick to the old traditions, Mrs. Heffernan. One I know, Mrs. Wharton, seems to take things a lot easier than most women I've met. Now, don't get me wrong, Mrs. Heffernan. I haven't actually seen her this early in the morning, but, well...
Well, I don't say any more, John Dugdale. You'll get yourself into deep water. What you mean to say is she's told you she's got a lot of new gadgets, hot water systems and so on.
That's what I meant, thanks. Yes, although there's no gas or electricity out here, she's got a setup as modern as anyone's. Kerosene equipment's come a long way since you were a girl, Mrs. Heffernan.
Oh, that's not so long ago, John Dugdale.
Well, whether it's been a long time or not doesn't really matter, Mrs. Heffernan. But what does matter, I think, especially to the women folk out here, is that while some scientists and engineers have been developing bigger and better equipment for the man on the land, other scientists and engineers have been just as busy working out new ideas and developing new equipment to make life easier for the woman on the land. Women like Mrs. Wharton there, everything at her fingertips just like her cousins in the cities. It seems to me, Mrs. Heffernan, the biggest problem in the past has been letting the countrywoman know these things exist. Once the countrywoman gets to know that hot water systems and cooking stoves are just as easy and simple to use as her kerosene refrigerator, she'll be taking things for granted too, just the same as I do. After all, Mrs. Heffernan, the menfolk realize that every year there are new and better harvesters and tractors for the crops. It only stands to reason that the same developments have been made in domestic appliances for the homes. A cup of tea for a husband in bed isn't much trouble in a home like Mrs. Wharton's.
Tea's made.
What?
I hope my husband doesn't see this.
Too late, I've seen it.
Now, there you are. What did I tell you? While the women stick at home looking after children and getting the breakfast cooked, the man of the house is either in bed snoring or out shooting rabbits.
Just a minute, Mrs. Heffernan, if you don't mind. I'd like to explain who these people are. That's Wally Campbell on the right and Kevin Mayfield, the policeman, in the center. The young chap's Bruce Lamont. Actually, Mrs. Heffernan, they shot those rabbits so the wives could make rabbit pie for the dance supper.
And who likes rabbit pie, I'd like to know?
Well, I do, for one.
Me too.
Oh, just like me, and always thinking of your stomachs.
Oh, we're not that bad, Mrs. Heffernan.
Oh, perhaps not. You know, I must admit the Whartons have a very nice setup in their house. But you must remember this, John. A house like the Whartons is more the exception than the rule. But don't take my word for it. Ask Arthur Wiley. He and his brother George run an agency. They've lived around these parts for quite a few years. What do you think, Arthur?
What do you mean, Mrs. Heffernan? The houses?
Yes, and the way that people live around these parts.
Well, I always maintain that a lot depends on the individual. Well, I will say that people are generally better off now than they ever were. Although some of the farmers drive around in cars, others still stick to the horse and buggy. There's Pop James and his family with their latest model utility truck. You get a fair idea of how people are doing by what they buy in the stores. But I'll say this. All their new cars don't give a fair indication of how the wife and kids exist. Of course, we've just had the third good season in a row, and it looks like another bumper wheat crop again this year. That means everybody was well off, buying new machinery and gadgets for the houses. Like John Wilshire and his wife, for example. They helped pioneer this district. But old folk like the Wilshires find it hard to condition themselves to things like hot water systems that the younger generation accept as part of normal living. If someone had told you 10 years ago that kids would be switching 60-gallon hot water systems on and off, you would have said they were balmy. Then there's fellas like Wally Campbell there. He's had his ups and downs the same as the cockies. We fellas in the town depend just as much on the seasons as the bloke that grows the grain. And that goes for the cities, too. No wheat and sheep, and where would the cities be? It's the farmers like Harold Terrell and Jack Parsons who buy the machinery who keep us going. You've got to remember, Rankin Springs is more than just a main street. Men like Terrell and Parsons are just as much part of Rankin Springs as my brother George and those of us who work and live in the town itself. We're all interdependent. No wheat and wool, and there wouldn't be any carriers or station masters, storekeepers or bakers. We wouldn't need the postmaster. Or the school teacher, for that matter. Or Ernie de la Valley in his pub.
That wouldn't worry me.
Oh, you teetotalers are all the same. The point is, we're all dependent on each other. And the people here realize it. You can see what I mean today with the dance. The way they're all hopping in and helping.
Mrs. Wharton's certainly doing her bit. I suppose she's about the best cake maker in the town. We tell her so anyway, because...
You're getting into deep water again, John Dugdale.
Well, she does make good cakes and...
Yes, yes. Say much more, and Mrs. Wharton won't be cooking us any cakes at all.
Don't worry, Mrs. Heffernan. I can take it. I don't mind cooking cakes for the dancers. In fact, I rather like it. Anyway, I'm not the only one who helps. What about Selma Mayfield there, the policeman's wife? Look at that rabbit pie she's making. You've got to get in early if you want some. It's always gone by the end of the first dance.
There's Seth Hall from the railways. He's won competitions with his gardens. He generally picks us some flowers for decorations at the hall. There's the dance committee. We usually meet in the backyard of the hotel. There's Arthur Wiley pouring himself a soft drink. What a man.
Don't be silly. I was pouring for Mrs. Heffernan.
Now tell them which is you, John.
Oh, I thought I'd get out of that one. That's me on the left talking to Jack Pocklington. And here's Ernie de la Valley. You know, it's a bigger job than you'd think running a dance. Even getting the salt drinks has its problems, hasn't it, Ernie?
You're telling me. I no sooner got set at the table than you told me we need another 6 dozen bottles. First of all, I couldn't raise the switch, and just when I thought I'd got on, a call came from Hay about the flying doctor. Rafferty was out somewhere. He should have been at the meeting too, by the way. And his wife was looking after the board.
Hold the line, Ernie. I've got a call coming on from Hay. I think it's the flying doctor.
Hello, Springs. Hay here. The flying doctor got your message. He'll be taking off about 2.
Thanks, Hay. Hello? Hello, Rankin's here. Barm Edmund 2? Just a moment, please. Number, please. Erigolia 7? Hold the line, please. Hello, Ernie. Rafel's engaged. I'll call you back. Hello, Rankin's here. Just a moment, please.
It looks like you didn't get through.
There's no need to sling off. You were probably only nattering while I was away anyway.
Oh, don't be silly. We had the whole thing sewn up by the time you got back. Good Lord, John. Whatever were we looking so serious about?
Don't you remember? You were asking me if I'd arranged to have the lamps and heaters picked up.
Oh, yes, that's right. So I did. And you said Bruce Lamont was on the job.
Don't I know it? Where is that young rascal?
Who, me?
Yes, you, young Lamont. If I'd known you were going to treat those lamps like that, I'd have...
What, Mr. Dugdale?
Oh, leave the boy alone. He did a good job.
Righto, Andy, let it go.
Bruce did a good job with Andy O'Keefe's help. So did Walter Day and the others. There's Jack Pocklington and Ken Rafferty. Can't make who the others are. They're picking up Mrs. Wharton's refrigerator for the soft drinks. Didn't she offer you a cup of tea, Ken?
I did, too.
Yes, but we knocked it back. We were too busy.
Where's the fridge? And behind the door.
Just a minute, I'll take out the trays.
Stay where you are. We'll attend to this.
Hey, take the tray. I've got the burner.
Just a minute, I'll...
No, leave it to us. You just stand back and watch.
You right now?
Yeah.
Right, get over there.
I'll take the side.
Move over there. Move around the side, Jack.
You probably have some idea now of what I was getting at earlier. The wonderful community spirit you find. It didn't seem to matter what their setup was. They all did something, and a bit more toward the dance. Well, anyway, the lamps did finally get to the hall in one piece. I suppose that's the main thing. The old hall's just about had it, although we've had a lot of fun inside those corrugated tin walls. There's a committee raising money to build a new one now. But Ken Rafferty here knows more about that than I do. What about it, Ken?
Well, as you can see, the old wall isn't worth much anymore. We reckon if we can get enough money together to fix up a decent sort of memorial hall and club center, we can have dances and meetings and card parties. It'll help to get the people here together even more than they do now, which is saying something. If we can equip the new hall with gear like this, we should have a setup as good as anywhere. Now just look at that fridge. All you do is strike a match, put a burner underneath, and there she is. I suppose every house in the area has a kero fridge of some kind or another.
Oh, so they should have. We women have put up with too much for too long.
Mrs. Heffernan, I've a sneaking feeling that you're upholding the cause of womanhood again.
Well, if I don't, who will?
We will, won't we, Mrs. Lamont?
I doubt if we need to after seeing this film, Mrs. Wharton.
I seem to remember you getting quite a surprise when you saw it all first.
Well, yes, I suppose I did. I hadn't realized the committee managed to get everything together like they did.
I'll never forget your face when you saw the heaters and the stove.
No wonder you laughed when I asked you if there was plenty of wood.
There you are, John Dugdale. What did I tell you? Stuff like this is a surprise to some of the women folk out here.
I wouldn't have believed it possible, Mrs. Heffernan. I took all these things for granted.
A bit too much for granted, I think, John Dugdale.
Nevertheless, you must admit that this sort of stuff should be the accepted thing.
It should be.
And I think it will be. With all the modern kerosene equipment that science and industry has developed today, there is no reason why the country housewife should continue putting up with the drudgery of old-time pioneering. And that's clearly demonstrated when you see the kerosene equipment in action at the dance.
minute, please. Supper will be ready in a few moments. For those who would like something hot, there will be sausage rolls, pies and teas. And for those who prefer something cold, there are sandwiches, cakes, ice drinks. Thank you.
For an old-time dance, please. An old-time waltz.
This dance was made possible, too, by that same cooperation of the people of Rankin Springs. Mrs. Wharton, Mrs. Lamont, Ernie Della Valle, Arthur Wiley, it's impossible to mention them all. And not forgetting the unseen cooperation of the scientists and engineers who designed and built the equipment we saw in action at the dance. It's cooperation such as this between the men and women of the land, the drawing office and factory bench, the cooperation of farmer, scientist and engineer, on which largely depends the future of Australia.